We stopped in the previous episode when the king was assassinated by one of the servants. We also saw how Kirill managed to enter the palace of Larasia and eventually become the king's personal doctor. But we still don't know who killed the king or how someone managed to assassinate the most powerful king on earth. In this episode, you will discover a dangerous secret that happened between the servants on unforgettable night. And I have a shocking news about Ruby, that poor girl. So relax and let your imagination sink into it. But before we begin, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel because that truly helps me continue. Welcome back to Extra Daily channel. I'm really happy you're still here. And today, you're about to watch part 5 of The Legend of Larasia. If you haven't watched the previous episodes yet, make sure to watch them first for the best experience. Let's go. 3 days before the king's assassination, in the middle of the night, the servants sat together around the fireplace in their share room. They were long white sweeping gowns with loose waists and long sleeves. Joyce sat in front of them while secretly taking out several small wooden containers from a hidden bag she had brought with her. No more humiliation, Joyce said firmly. What that monster has been doing has crossed every line of humanity. Look, I'm not exactly great at voice acting, girls, but I'll try my best to deliver the conversation properly. Okay, Ruby sat behind Joyce while quietly crying. Cause the pretty don't cry, don't cry, oh, don't cry, don't cry, don't cry, oh. With the next. While the other 4 girls exchanged confused looks with each other, Joyce gently hugged Ruby and tried comforting her. It's okay, stay strong. As Ruby lifted her head slightly, the girls noticed a fresh scar around her neck. One of them gasped in horror. Her name was Vera, a blonde girl with green eyes. Did the king do that to you? Ruby clenched her hands and whispered bitterly, No, he made me do it to myself. That cursed murderer. Another servant named Hiara spoke nervously. Murderer? Joyce noticed Ruby struggling to speak, so she continued explaining. The king uses our weakness to control us. Ruby interrupted her with tears in her eyes. He killed my mother just to force me to become his servant. I told you, I'm very bad at voice acting. Karin and Seda, both beautiful girls who had been taken by force, looked at each other in disbelief. But Hiara stepped forward and asked softly, What do you mean, Ruby? Ruby tried to speak, but this time her tears completely overwhelmed her. So Juice continued the story for her. Ruby wanted to visit her old home, so I secretly went with her. It was her first time returning there since her mother died, but she didn't expect Isaac to stay living there, hoping she might someday return. The moment Isaac saw Ruby, he hugged her while crying. He actually believed she had been killed too. Ruby was confused by what he said, but what was even stranger was when he told us he had witnessed the moment her mother died. He said that a knight wearing a blue uniform stormed into the house, then quickly left nervously while looking around. After the knight disappeared, Isaac entered the house and found Ruby's mother dying, and her final words were, Don't let him take my daughter. Vera stared at Ruby in shock. Ruby? Is that true? Did the king really kill your mother? Ruby silently nodded while crying. Hiara suddenly spoke in anger. So, I wasn't the only one he has blocked me. Such a bad voice acting. Vera turned toward her. What do you mean? Hiara took a deep breath. Sorry, don't care about my voice. 6 years ago, my father was an honest merchant who lived near the outskirts of the city. One day, I accompanied him to the palace while he presented his goods to the king. But the king wouldn't stop staring at me. I ignored it as much as I could. Then my father asked me to bring more supplies from outside. Before I left, the king smiled at me, and I hated that smile. I returned quickly, but when I came back, the guards were already beating my father, while King accused him of being a spy. The guards surrounded me, but strangely, they never touched me. My father kept begging, saying he had no idea how weapons of Kefors ended up hidden among his goods. but the punishment of that crime was execution. At that moment, I begged the king instead, push me instead of him, but please spare my father. The king smiled, sat on his throne, and after a few moments, he said, your father deserves death for betraying the kingdom, but perhaps I can reduce his punishment to only 10 years in prison. In exchange, you become my servant. So I accept immediately to protect my father's life. Karen crossed her arms nervously. But we can't hurt the king. There is no way. Joyce immediately replied, yes, we can. I forget it's a girl sound. Yes, we can. The king has countless enemies, and who would ever suspect a servant? Seda slowly her hand around her neck. But what if we get caught? We'll be executed. Karen stood up and extended her hand towards Seda. I don't wanna be part of this. Let's just sleep. But Joyce stopped them. Wait, Karen sighed before turning away. Not all of us are as brave as you. Yara suddenly spoke up. I'm with you. The three girls then looked towards Vera. Vera hesitated. He ran around her eyes. Didn't the king blackmail you too? Vera slowly shook her head. My mother served in the palace, so I grew up here. Her final wish was for me to stay under the king's protection. Joyce answered firmly, never expect protection from a bloodthirsty king. No one will protect you except yourself. Eventually, Vera agreed. Not long after, the girls finally went to sleep. Seda's bed was beside Karen's, and because Karen always struggled to sleep peacefully, she kept waking up repeatedly during the night. As she turned to the side, of course on bed, she noticed Seda sitting silently on her bed, crying. Karen rubbed her eyes slightly. What's wrong? Are you crying? And she got up and sat beside her. Tell me what happened. We promised we'd always tell each other everything. Seda looked at her while tears gathering on her eyes, but she couldn't say a single word. Karen's expression became serious. Tammy. Slowly and hesitantly, Seda revealed the upper part of her left thigh. Karen gasped in horror. The flesh was horribly scarred and formed. Who did this to you? And at that exact moment, another voice suddenly spoke from the darkness. Was it you? Karen looked up in surprise. Joyce? Why are you still awake? Joyce ignored her question and walked directly towards Seda. Tell me the truth. Was the king the one who tortured you? Seda slowly nodded. Karen's anger immediately exploded. He tortured you too? Joyce stepped closer. Tell us what happened. Seda's voice trembled as she spoke. I can't. She threatened to kill me. I can't. Joyce stared at her silently for a few seconds before finally returning to her bed without another word. Karen gently covered Seda with a blanket, then whispered softly before lying down again. We're with you. Meanwhile, Lydia had finally managed to escape and reach the palace gates. The chaos inside the palace after the king's death had distracted most of the guards, giving her the perfect chance to flee. But there was still one huge problem. How was she supposed to leave the palace itself? Security around the gates was unbelievably strict. Terrified, Lydia hid behind one of the large statues and sat on the ground, desperately waiting for an opportunity to escape. But with the guards everywhere, getting out seemed impossible. Eventually, she tried sneaking past the soldiers, hoping they wouldn't notice her. But before she could even get closer, several grounds stopped her. Hey, you there! Identify yourself! Fear immediately took over. Lydia turned and started running. Four soldiers chased after her, shouting for her to stop. But she kept running as fast as she could. After a while, she suddenly tripped and crashing onto the ground. When she looked back, the grounds were still behind her. But at least they weren't too close yet. She tried standing again, but she noticed the blood covering her knee and staining her dress red. This time, her running became slower, much slower. The guards began catching up. A few moments later, she stumbled once again when her legs could no longer carry her. She tried to stand, but she couldn't. Again and again, she tried, but her body refused to move, and the soldiers kept getting closer and closer. At that moment, she finally gave up and whispered desperately, Mother, where are you to heal my wounds? Father, where are you so I can hide behind you? Suddenly, a voice behind her spoke quickly. What are you doing? Get up now. They will reach us any second. Lydia turned toward the voice, but couldn't clearly see the person in the darkness. Hurry! The stranger said, we don't have time. Give me your hand. Without even thinking, she reached out toward him, and the two immediately started running together. As they ran, he said, I know a way out of the palace. A few moments later, they reached the end of the path, where a tall wall stood before them. The stranger pulled out a small dagger attached to his vest and stabbed it into the middle of the wall. Then he dragged over a large stone and placed it directly beneath the dagger. Lydia stared at him in confusion. Are you claiming that? He said. Yes, he jumped onto the rock and used the dagger as support to climb higher. The first time failed, then the second, then the third, but on fourth try, he finally managed to pull himself to the top of the wall. He quickly reached his hand down toward her. "Give me your hand." Rydia grabbed it and he pulled him up beside him. Then he looked down at the other side of the wall and said, "We have to jump." Bro, I forget to tell you, there was a sea in the other side of the wall. So Rydia stared down in fear. From this height, we could get seriously hurt or even die. At that moment, they heard the guards getting closer. The stranger looked back at her and answered calmly, "That's still better than letting them catch us." Without hesitation, he jumped from the wall and disappeared into the dark water below. Lydia looking behind her and saw the guards rapidly approaching, so she jumped too. But the moment she hit the water, her exhausted body finally gave up and she lost consciousness. A few moments later, the stranger surfaced from the water, laughing breathlessly. "I did it! I actually escaped the palace!" Then he suddenly looked around. Wait, Radia was nowhere to be seen. His expression immediately changed. He quickly dove back into the dark water, searching desperately until he finally found her unconscious beneath the surface. He grabbed her and held her back up toward the air. Inside the palace, some of them approached Leonid to ask about the prince's whereabouts. With all due respect, Leonid answered confidently, "Her Highness doesn't wish to see anyone." One of the guards stepped closer and replied seriously, "The crown prince must come out immediately. His security needs to be reinforced." Leonid frowned. "What do you mean?" The guard said, "The king passed away last night after being poisoned, and since the murderer is still free, the crown prince could be in a danger as well." Leonid said, "I will bring him back immediately." Leonid blamed himself for allowing the prince to sneak out of the palace in the first place. Then he whispered to himself, "I know exactly where he will be." Inside a small hut near the shore, Rydia slowly opened her eyes while lying on a bed. She became startled when she noticed her cloak hanging near the door, while she herself was wearing the young man's jacket over her dress. She tried standing up, but her injured legs still hurt badly. Rydia stepped outside the hut and searched for him with her eyes, only find him sleeping on the sand beneath the shade of a tree. She walked toward him and spoke softly, "Hey, wake up. Are you okay?" Salar slowly opened his eyes and saw the girl standing above him, looking worried. She asked again, "Are you alright?" Instead of answering, Salar quietly sat up and grabbed her injured foot to inspect the bandages around it. Rydia immediately pushed him away in shock. "What are you doing?" Salar simply lay back on the sand again and looked toward the sky. "Your leg is fine now. There is no more bleeding. That's good." Rydia stared at him in annoyance. "Excuse me?" Salar suddenly laughed. "Why do you talk like a princess?" But she noticed the sweat covering his forehead. Her expression changed with worry as she placed her hand against his forehead. "You are burning up. You have a fever." Salar gently moved her hands away. "I don't think so." But before finishing his sentence, he suddenly sneezed. Rydia looked at his thin shirt nervously. "You need warmer clothes." She helped him stand and guided him back inside the hut. After entering, Salah lay down on the bed while speaking quickly. "When you come out of the water, once of your bracelets slipped off. I saw a scar on your wrist." He looked at her quietly. "Who did that to you?" Rydia avoided answering and quietly fixed the bracelet back into place. "Not now. I'll tell you later, after you rest. You look terrible." Salar smiled faintly before asking, "What's your name?" Rydia answered softly, "We can introduce yourself later. Right now, you need rest." Salar smiled once more, then finally fell asleep from exhaustion. As the hours passed, Salar's condition only became worse. Rydia wanted to search for help, but there was nobody nearby. Suddenly, the door burst open. Leonid rushed inside. The moment he saw the prince lying on the bed, he hurried toward him in panic. "Your Highness, can you hear me?" Leonid quickly realized the prince had a high fever. Without hesitation, he removed his own coat and covered Salar with it before carrying him in his arms. But Lydia froze in shock. Your Highness?" Leonid turned toward her while holding the prince. "Who are you?" Lydia quickly regained her composure and asked calmly, "Just an ordinary girl." Leonid then noticed the food containers inside the hut and understood what had happened. "So, you were trying to help him?" He actually looked at her gratefully. "His Highness would surely want to thank you personally. Please come with us to the palace." But Lydia immediately shook her head. "No, I should return to my family. It's already late." Before Leonid could say another word, she quickly ran away. Moments later, Leonid returned to the palace carrying Salar with him. Meanwhile, inside the prison cells, where the servants had been locked away for 2 days, the guard entered and announced, "Your innocence has been proven. The killer has been identified." The girls looked toward him in shock. It was one of the kitchen cooks. "And from now on, you will return to your duties inside the palace, serving the crown prince and future king." After returning to their home, Hiara quickly approached Joyce. "What happened? Who was that cook?" Joyce answered quietly, "Revenge always named the price, and sometimes incorrect people pay for it." Seda suddenly glared at her angrily. "Did you kill her? We never agreed to sacrifice incorrect people, Joyce." But Joyce replied with a frightened calmness, "I did it to protect all of you." Then she added coldly, "Unless you'd rather kneel before that old monster again." Silence filled the room until Ruby finally broke it. "But where is Rydia?" Joyce sighed softly. "His escape was never part of the plan." She looked at the others seriously. "So, from now on, we search for her together." And so, news of the king's death spread throughout the kingdom of Larasia. The entire kingdom mourned for 3 days. As for Lydia, no one heard anything about her, and her fate remained completely unknown. Even the servants had no idea where she was. And with that, we've reached the end of part 5 of the Legend of Larasia. Honestly, making these videos takes a lot of effort from me, but every like on the video makes the exhaustion disappear. So leave a like and subscribe to the channel, and I will see you in the next episode that talks about Salar and Kirill after 19 years. So bye!